Hi, welcome back. In my previous review, I talked about the 360 S6, if it was better than the Roborock S5 Max, and this comparison will answer that question. I've tested both products extensively, from navigation, cleaning performance, to app features, and miscellaneous stuff you need to consider before making a choice. The S5 Max is one of the more popular mid to high-end options depending on the current price levels. It's one of the better performing robot vacuum and mop hybrids, doing both tasks extremely well. In contrast, the 360 S6 isn't as popular, but is a compelling option because of its lower cost. In fact, most of its features are similar to Roborock, but there are key differences I will share later on in this video that may be a sticking point. But first, we'll look at the design. The 360 S6 and Roborock S5 Max utilize a round frame and a minimalist design. Both have the LiDAR sensor on top, so each robot will have smart navigation. The 360 S6 and Roborock S5 Max dustbin loads from the top. One difference is there's direct access to the 360 bin with a push of a button. With the S5 Max, you'll need to open the top door before taking out the dustbin. The 360 S6 container is easier to empty thanks to the wide opening and a door on top design. In comparison, the S5 Max's dustbin has a narrower opening, which can be tricky to empty. Both robot vacuums have a washable HEPA filter, but you'll have to replace it every 3 to 4 months. Don't worry though, 360 and Roborock have a feature in the app that tell you when to replace it. The Roborock S5 Max bin is slightly bigger with a 0.46 liter capacity, while the 360 S6 can hold up to 0.4 liters. Another difference is the side brush. The 360 S6 has 2, while the S5 Max only has 1. If you look closely, the 360 utilizes an older design with bristle tips, while the S5 Max has an all-rubber side brush that I feel provides better durability. One downside with the S6's twin brush design is its tendency to scatter more debris than usual. This isn't much of an issue with the S5 Max, where the single side brush didn't scatter as much dirt. While both robots use a combo brush, I like the S5 Max's design better since it has the auto-adjust system where the brush assembly has an up and downward play. This is absent with the 360 where the brush roll assembly is fixed. Having an auto-adjust system is essential for optimal cleaning performance because it ensures the brush stays in contact with the surface, resulting in a cleaner pickup and better results. Robot vacuums with a fixed brush system tend to do poorly on carpet. Fortunately, the 360 S6 did surprisingly well in deep cleaning tests, which I'll share in a bit. Both robots are close in terms of dimension. The 360 S6 measures around 13.7 inches wide and 3.85 inches tall, while the S5 Max is 13.8 inches wide and 3.8 inches tall. These robots will not fit under furniture with a 3.8 inch clearance or less. The bodies will fit, but not the LiDAR cover. One difference is the 360 S6 still forces its way underneath the shoe rack, risking damage to the laser sensor. In contrast, the S5 Max stopped and didn't go further. The 360 S6 and Roborock S5 Max have LiDAR, so these robots have smart navigation. Both will start their run cleaning the edges before moving towards the middle in straight lines. But the S5 Max is more thorough, giving users the option to select between 1 and 3 passes. The 360 S6 doesn't have this option, so it will go around only once. This feature is only available in the area or spot cleaning portion of the 360 app. This omission limits the S6's potential for better cleaning results as it only goes around once. You'll see in this coverage test that while it managed to pick up most of the Quaker oats I scattered around the room, there were bits and pieces left. You'll have to turn on the robot again manually a second and third time to achieve the same result as the S5 Max. In comparison, the S5 Max left fewer debris, almost none, and it's this thoroughness that separates it from the 360 S6. Regardless, coverage is excellent as both robots were able to cover much of the area. Both robots are adept at traversing around tight spaces. Not one time did any of these robots get stuck, but you'll need to do your part and remove any loose wires and light area rugs, particularly those with tassels. Climbability is a strong point for both the 360 S6 and Roborock S5 Max. There were no issues with either climbing over 0.5 and 0.8 inch rugs. Next, we'll look at the containment features. Traditionally, robot vacuums utilize a virtual wall or magnetic strip of tape to block the robot from going into off-limit areas. But for the 360 S6 and Roborock S5 Max, this is no longer needed because it's doable through the app. Users will have access to no-go zones that are virtual boxes or rectangles that block the robot from going into these zones. The S5 Max though has more flexibility with the addition of virtual walls, which are lines on the app that prevent the robot from going past it. For example, in my home office, I could draw a diagonal line here to prevent the robot from going into my space. This is also possible with the 360 S6, but only by drawing a rectangle. However, you can't draw a box with a diagonal line, so there's a limitation on what areas it can block. To measure airflow, I used an anemometer at the main brush. The S5 Max has more airflow across all the power settings, with up to 17.74 CFM at max mode. In fact, it has more airflow than the 360 S6 at its highest setting. The low output of the S6 is somewhat of a disappointment, but fortunately it has good enough agitation to be decent in the cleaning tests. If you look at the overall scores, the S5 Max is the better option for surface and deep cleaning. The biggest issue for the 360 S6 is the single pass run. It limits its potential for picking up more debris, and this is what hurt it the most in the cleaning tests. Another issue to point out is the dual side brush. Having two side brushes sound good on paper, but in reality, it will scatter more debris, especially on hard surfaces where it tosses dirt to a wider radius. The S5 Max didn't scatter as much dirt since there's only one side brush. It's also better in the sand on hard floor test, picking up 98.8% versus the 360 S6's score of 93.6%. Again, the issue is twofold: the two side brushes scattering more sand than usual, and the single pass run. The S5 Max has more usable airflow across all the power settings. Even in the lowest setting, it will pick up dirt at a decent rate. And if you remove the dustbin, there's only a minimal amount left in this area underneath. Passes were cleaner thanks to the higher airflow and seal. But for heavier debris like sand, you'll need to use a higher setting like Turbo or Max. For the 360 S6, the lowest setting yields barely any airflow, so while it picks up debris, not everything goes into the dustbin. You'll notice that a lot of the stuff it was supposed to pick up ending up in this area. So that leaves you with the middle and max power settings. The middle setting doesn't pick up as cleanly as the S5 Max because it still lacks airflow. It won't be an issue for cleaning dust or hair, but it will struggle with heavier debris like sand. You'll have to use the powerful or max setting for the best possible results for cleaning stuff like pet litter and sand. Both will pick up large debris like Cheerios and Fruit Loops without any issues. Each will have enough airflow and clearance for this task. Surprisingly, the 360 S6 was decent on carpet. Despite its single pass run, it picked up an average of 62.15% after the first pass. I tried a second pass, it went up to 78.5%, and after a third pass, it was up to 88.9%, which is Roomba territory. Granted, I had to manually turn on the robot 3 times to achieve this score, whereas I only had to do it once with the S5 Max because users can do a 3-pass run by adjusting this setting in the app. The S5 Max picked up an average of 84.75% in 3 tests. It's a decent score, but a notch below the Roomba 980. I did a hair wrap test for both robots with 5 and 7-inch human hair. Roborock did better at cleaning hair, with fewer strands wrapping around the brush after the 5-inch test, but it did struggle with the longer 7-inch strands. The 360 S6 didn't do well with either the 5-inch or 7-inch strands. One reason why it struggles is the low airflow. Next, we look at the edge cleaning tests, and both were decent. The S5 Max was only slightly better with its 3-pass run versus the 2-pass run of the 360 S6. Both the 360 S6 and Roborock S5 Max are 2-in-1 robot vacuums with the ability to mop floors. One significant difference between the two is the size and type of the water tank. The S5 Max comes with a 290ml water tank with the option to adjust water flow through the app. In comparison, the 360 S6 only has an 80ml gravity water tank, so there is no option for the user to adjust the water flow as it relies only on gravity. The smaller tank also means less coverage. I tested both robots on red wine stains I left overnight, and both did an excellent job at removing these stains. However, the 360 S6 left a wetter surface with visible tire marks, whereas the S5 Max's water tank was more efficient with water usage and left an almost dry surface with minimal streaks and residue. Based on these tests, the S5 Max is the better option if you want a robot vacuum capable of removing dried stains on surfaces like tile. It won't be as good as the Brava, but it's excellent value for a robot vacuum at this price range. These two robots have smartphone apps where the users will have access to all the features. The 360 S6 is compatible with the 360 app. In comparison, the S5 Max is compatible with both the Roborock and Xiaomi Home app. My preference would be the Xiaomi Home app because of the room naming feature, which can be used with Alexa. Both apps have live maps providing users with real-time information where the robot is, area size, and battery life. However, the Xiaomi Home app has more options. It has features not available in the 360 app, like selective room cleaning. You can choose a room or an area on the map to clean. If you have a device like Alexa or Google Assistant, you can tell the robot to clean the dining or living room using voice, something not possible with the 360 app because you won't be able to split the map into zones or name rooms. Within the Room tab, there's an option to increase or decrease cleanups or the number of passes. By default, the S5 Max only goes around twice, but you can add an extra pass for a more thorough clean with this feature. The 360 app has this feature, but only inside the Area tab, and only up to 2 passes. The Roborock app also has the Carpet Boost feature, where the robot will automatically increase suction when it detects carpet, something absent in the 360 app. Both apps can save maps. The 360 can save up to 10 maps, while the S5 Max can save only up to 4 map levels. But the Roborock version is more intuitive to use with a step-by-step process in creating a new map, which is absent in the 360 app. It will only save the last 10 maps, and you'll have to save the ones you'll use manually, or it will be overwritten. The Roborock and Xiaomi Home app will automatically detect the correct map level based on the initial scan of the room, just in case you move the robot to another level and not switch the map. This feature is not available in the 360 app. You'll have to manually select the correct map if you move the robot, or the app will create a new map. The Roborock and 360 app have an area cleaning feature where users can draw a square or rectangular zone in the map the robot will clean. You can draw multiple boxes for both apps. This is the 360's only option for selective room cleaning, but for Roborock, it's more of a luxury feature since it has selective room cleaning. Both robots have unlimited scheduling, so users can set unlimited runs per day with the option to select a particular day, weekdays or weekends, power settings, and more. Another useful feature for both is the Maintenance tab, providing users with a heads up when to change parts like the filter, main brush, or side brush. Next, we'll look at runtime. The S5 Max will run longer, up to 180 minutes, thanks to its larger 5200 mAh lithium-ion battery. Not only that, it has more usable power even at the lowest power setting, so it can effectively vacuum a larger area. In comparison, the 360 S6 will only run for up to 120 minutes since it has a smaller 3200 mAh lithium-ion battery. One caveat is the 120 minutes is only possible at the lowest setting, which is not usable for vacuuming. It's a setting reserved for mopping, so expect it to be close to 90 minutes. Runtime shouldn't be an issue though, because both options have recharge and resume, so if it doesn't finish cleaning the area, it will recharge then resume cleaning automatically at the location it left previously. Lastly, for this comparison, we'll look at the noise levels, where I used a sound meter to measure it from a few feet away. Surprisingly, the S5 Max is less noisy across all the power levels, producing between 58.2 and 62.4 decibels, while the 360 S6 is noisier, ranging between 60.3 and 63.7 decibels. To conclude this comparison, while the 360 S6 is compelling because of the lower cost, the Roborock S5 Max is still the better product overall. It provides users with more options with navigation, app features, and has more usable airflow across all the power settings. This results in cleaner passes and better thoroughness. The S5 Max is also better at mopping thanks to the electronic water tank with more volume and more efficient water usage. It just releases the right amount of water to clean stains without leaving too much residue. The 360 S6 is a decent product, but I feel it lacks features in critical areas such as thoroughness and airflow. But it still deep cleans carpet at a good rate despite the low airflow. It's a decent option for those looking for a robot vacuum under $400, but I wouldn't recommend it fully because of the issues. If this video has been helpful to you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Links are in the description for more information. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.